Hello, everyone who is interested in the good corporate governance practices. Today, we are starting one more of our podcasts. Eric from Estonia, Andris from Latvia, and I'm Rytis from Vilnius. And today, we will be talking about the role of the shareholders, role of the board, and role of the CEO in replacing and making any changes in the structures of the company. Recently in Lithuania, we had a very unusual situation when the relatively newly appointed minister decided to remove the CEO because of some specific actions that were kind of normal business actions, but he thought that his actions are not relevant and there should be some different actions. So let's talk about who is doing what according to the best practices of corporate governance. So the first question is who is appointing and firing the CEO? Maybe Andris and Eric can comment on this.
Well, replacing a CEO is not the governance problem, but replacing a CEO without a transparent reasoning and an independent board process, then it's really a problem. So as I understand, it was just by orders from minister and the board was left out, right?
Yeah, thank you. Andris.
So it's absolutely clear if the board is established. So this is under responsibility of board to elect and also to dismiss CEO. And we have such a cases time to time. And this is the reason why, especially in state-owned companies, governance processes are quite fragile because politicians who has quite a narrow time horizon wants to be the ones who are deciding and who are giving some orders, who wants to be or to look, appear in media quite good that they are working, but at the end of the day, the success of any state-owned company depends not how one or other politicians intervene or try to dictate how the CEOs should be changed and try to help board to understand what is the right decision to make. But the success is absolutely linked with the quality of governance processes. And what OECD is recommending, what is the global standard, that actually politicians, this involvement in operational aspects, in changing CEO, helping to understand or to dictate who should win in procurements or doing such as things. So it's actually good governance becomes absolutely impossible in such scenarios.
This is the same everywhere, and but politicians fail to understand this, that the governments, they come and go. But state-owned enterprises, they build infrastructure, for example, over decades. And governance exists precisely to protect this long-term value from short-term political cycles. And if you cut the board off, if you cut the corporate governance off, you get what you get.
Yeah, thank you. And what do you think, what could be the real reason, kind of objective reason to make a decision to fire the CEO?
Who knows what the personal relationships are, but it's quite an easy way to show to your voters that look, I'm working, look, I fired the CEO, how brave I am, how decisive I am. So stuff like this.
But usually in the practice or business practice or governance practices, why CEOs are replaced or just fired?
So I guess the right order would be that shareholder, that is state or particular ministry involved who take the decisions, they're setting a clear objectives through their owner's expectations. Then they are appointing a professional board and they're receiving information and holds the company accountable and board accountable for results. So if results are not there, and if we have gaps. So of course it's a good question. Shall we change something in management? just that we can ensure that those objectives are implemented in practice. But in reality, it's quite difficult to set the long-term objectives, to appoint really independent professional board, because you have no tools and not daily involvement when you are politician or minister, because the time horizon, again, it's quite short, and I want to show that I'm acting really well, and I'm taking decisions and so on. And what I have observed that when the new government is established, when the new ministers are entering the positions, they want somebody that they trust, and they have sometimes no idea and no experience with the current board or current CEO. And this is more easy to operate when you are placing somebody that you trust, and this trust is from the close circles. So and maybe this is a problem, that politicians that are in place do not trust existing board, and it's sometimes really difficult to set a long-term objectives, because I want to get short-term results, right? Short-term.
Yes, and automatically we of course say that there is nothing shady. It's all transparent and nice, but it is perfectly fine to fire the old CEO and hire a new one, even if you want to the change in culture, whatever you want. But this should come from the board. It might be initiated by the owner, who will say to the board that I have such ideas and thoughts. But it's not like the minister comes and says that now I need my own guy there. So it's automatically cutting out the board, killing all corporate governance, and there is no hope that it is possible to restore. Now it's gone. It's dead.
Yeah. I want to just comment also on the trust, how to trust board professionals, people that are serving on the board of state enterprise, municipality enterprise, and they have a really very good track record as a business people, worked on as a C-level positions in the business for years, and they are working on the boards already. And how not to trust such a people? For me, it's like it's very difficult to understand that if the minister is changing and then he immediately doesn't trust someone, there should be certain ground that maybe they are doing something, but it is usually not kind of explained that it was done something wrong on purpose. Probably that's why I'm losing the trust. It's like between two humans. I was trusting you, but after a certain kind of case or accident, I realized that I'm not able to trust you anymore. It's like in the family as well. So what is your kind of thinking here?
But I would show my finger to the issue of just showing work. Estonian ministers, for example, instead of firing the CEOs, they invented a new tool. They start the state control of a state-owned company in every possible case. Look, I started the state control now, and now it all be like here, and look how I am working. The companies are fighting for market share, for customers, for profit. The ministers, they are fighting for votes. So this is a big gap there.
Mm-hmm. Andres, anything on this, on trust?
Yeah, so of course the trust is a key element if you want to bring company to good results. So if board is not trusting CEO, of course the cooperation will be difficult, and more bureaucracy and more reporting will be introduced. For the politicians, so we cannot say that politicians or political parties are the ones that citizens trust very good. But somehow there is a wish, and what I can observe in Latvia is that more and more the state capitalism is raising. So if we want to improve access of finance in rural areas where the banks are not financing that in loans, then we should establish a state bank that will do it. And if we are putting all those elements in a full picture, so it seems that state wants to be involved more in business, and there is a kind of feeling that if I am minister for a while, I need to do something to put the right persons in a position that I can ensure that my ideas that are relatively short term will be implemented, and the minister will be showed in a good way. And how to avoid this? So this is a big question. And sometimes it's not even a topic about the trust. Sometimes it's just simply that I want that company is doing some other things or other priorities, and maybe the knowledge how to do it in a proper way, not to ruin the governance practices, are not known for politicians. And the easiest way.
Yes, but the big thing is that in this case, the board was cut off. So ministers think that independent boards somehow weaken them. But these independent boards, they protect ministers from accusations that commercial decisions are politically motivated and etc. So a board should translate ownership expectations into business decisions.
Yeah,
Not simply transmit political wishes somehow. So this is the thing here. So minister comes, makes something, shit hits the fan, he goes, next one comes, it all repeats. My big question is how it is to be in the management board of that company, how it is to be the CEO of that company. And the biggest of these questions is, will some clever person, a mighty CEO, want to become a new CEO of the company?
Yeah, it's also about the trust, actually, because I do not trust the system that I will leave my current position of CEO in one company and will join this position in the state enterprise company, and then minister will change and I will be fired. So why should I trust the system, and why should I come here and work and contribute to the benefit of the company and all the country? And here trust is also lost. I have one more question, because in these two cases, in Lithuania, with state enterprises, that the CEOs were just fired, not replaced, I just want to underline, but fired without any option of appointing a new, after certain selection processes, as usually it has to be. But it was formally done and legally done by the board, where majority were independent board members. What will be your kind of reaction?
Of course, it should be case by case in this analysis, but quite often, so there's a situation when boards wants to survive, and if boards are listening and really implementing different orders by the political leadership, rather exercising independent this oversight, then actually the board becomes quite symbolic, and that is a problem, because at the end of the day, what we can see, if politicians are involved in giving those orders, who is responsible, right? And legally, those are board members and also executives who will be blamed for decisions they did take. And then at the end of the day, politicians will say, well, I told you we need to change a board again, or we need to change CEO again. So board's role is to protect company and to make decisions in the best interest of the company and the shareholders. And therefore, if the board is not doing the work, so I would really challenge the assumption, is the board members really independent, by putting checklist what is independent or not. But there is one more part of that, that do you have independent mindset, and can the board really protect professional management if one politician wants to do changes? And if the board is not doing the work, so actually we cannot say that board acted independently.
Thank you.
There are two words which are like puzzling me. We have been talking about trust a lot. Trust. And trust is the cornerstone of good corporate governance. When you go and say a word trust to a politician, the politicians understand it in a totally different way. There is even no trust inside their own political party because they are all competitors to each other. Second thing is that you touched the word responsibility. And now it becomes interesting. Who is responsible for everything in the company? We can namely say that these are the management board members in Lithuanian case, CEO, responsible for all of his or her property. And the same applies to all board members. They are all responsible for everything what happens in a company with their own property. Now, please answer me, what is the responsibility of a minister? So to say, owner for a couple of months.
Even legally, according to the national legislation, probably in majority of the countries, the shareholders, they are liable only with their own kind of investment or shareholding
Exactly.
of the company, and that's all. But not about the decisions that they are doing. Of course, the shareholders are making decisions. It's at annual general meetings of the shareholders. But majority of the legal liability lies on the board, because board is having almost unlimited liability, while the CEO or those executives are having a relatively limited liability expressed in different legislations in some, 3 months of his salary or something like that. So it's relatively limited. But it's not the case with the board. So board is...
Politicians have responsibility, and it is called political responsibility. It means nothing. So congratulations to the board who was listening to the brave minister who wanted quick results and to show how they are working, and now it is here. And once again, I'm repeating that there is nothing wrong of firing a CEO when it's needed. But the one who is firing the CEO is not the owner; it's the board.
Yeah, true. And I want to bring another angle. If we would be in the shoes of ministers, and we have some questions, doubts. I do not, believe that business plan is optimal. I do not believe that management team is capable. I do not feel the board is doing what they should do according to my understanding of the situation. So what would be the tools that politicians can use to get information, to be involved in strategic discussions where also the government decisions probably are needed or parliament decisions are needed? So what would be your recipe to that? Because to say that independent board is there, CEO is doing work, do not interfere. But politicians, I want to be, because I am the minister, I'm part of the government, we need to take strategic decisions, and you are saying that you will not receive any operational information that is needed for me to take a decision. So what would be your suggestions how to solve this?
But the good corporate governance and OECD is answering this question very simply. When we are talking specifically about the state or municipality-owned companies, is that the shareholder is preparing and sending out to the board his or her a letter of expectation, shareholders' letter of expectations, and that letter clearly defines what I expect from this company, not what size of the profit. I mean, it's 2 million or 3 million or 5 million or EBITDA or something like that, but what this company has to do, maybe not to do, where it shall be involved. Anything about the social responsibility now, it's really important, for everyone in the world, in our countries as well, and so on. And based on that these expectations, the board is building the strategy, where all the strategic goals, long-term goals, and all the numbers are already included. And then when the strategy is approved by the board, then the management should implement that strategy, and the board should ensure that the strategy and strategic goals will be achieved.
We so to say owners who actually politicians will have to understand that their influence is limited to the big directives by owners. You can put your ideas when the elections are that we need that company to do this for the society and etc. When you get your votes, you are free to do this through the owner's expectations, and the board and the management are the ones who are doing. And maybe it includes the firing of the old CEO, and maybe not, but this is a decision by the board. But as we have to wrap up, so let's talk about now the major implication here. So the biggest long-term damage is not this dismissal which was done today. It is tomorrow's recruitment. The best CEOs simply do not apply for positions where they believe their future depends more on political change than on business performance. So why we need to do that? The talented executives, they have choices. If they see the strategy can change every election and leadership every minister. So many of these best candidates will simply choose to build their careers elsewhere.
But yeah, it's a very good point, Eric. But what about then about the boards? Board members, shall I go to that board where it has certain kind of minister above it? Is it worth for me to go to
Now
that board?
these boards let these things to happen already. These boards are dead. They are not the real boards anymore.
Yeah, especially talking about their independence. So what would be your kind of, for the our part of the discussion, what will be your advice for the board members that are planning in coming future to take the positions or to be appointed to the boards of state enterprises or municipality enterprises to the position of independent board members? How should they behave? How do they act in such or similar situations when they feel or see the kind of, let's call them initiatives from the above, means the shareholder? What would be your recommendations for those business people that were willing to join the boards?
No, my favorite, as we are teaching in our board member education, how when making every decision, try to imagine yourself standing in front of a court and explaining why you did that decision, why and how. So when you will say to the judge that, oh yeah, I had a call from the owner and then because of that I did. So you will be guilty for not providing independent judgment. And this independent judgment and thorough thought is exactly what is needed when you propose. Think 10 times before you go. And go only when you're really, really ready to work and to fight for the company's benefit, not someone else.
Thank you. Andres, your take on
that. Kind of two aspects. One, when you are independent member and you see that there is a pressure that goes against the interest of the company, long-term success. So the worst thing is that you are just voting against and sitting silently still there, even if the dependent board members are taking decision to dismiss CEO. So the rule is that you need to bring your voice up. You need to talk with those who are providing the pressure. If it's a ministry, so there can be different formats when to talk about it and to provide information. And independent mindset and independent board member means if you cannot safeguard the reputation of the company and long-term success, you should be able to leave position. And in Latvia, we have several cases when the board members are saying that it's enough. We are going out of the company. But the reason why we are going out, because politicians are doing this and this is wrong and this is wrong. So putting the voice up to media. And this is quite a good learning point for all the parties, but not to be silent and not to discuss in kitchen that we do not like this and we do not like that. So to bring the voice up and to safeguard corporate governance and also long-term success of the company, not being silent.
But
Thank you.
I have an idea how to finish this podcast on a funny note. So can you imagine we have some boards who, on the orders of the owner, fire their CEOs? What we are missing completely is actually they should have some sort of action plan. What will happen next? They should have some sort of succession plan. What happens next? And now we're just sitting and reading the articles in the newspapers and listening to podcasts. Oh, look what we did. So brave people.
Yeah, I'm always also recommending when the board is making decisions, I'm asking, how will you feel when you will tomorrow morning you will see this decision on the front page of the main business newspaper with a nice picture of yourself? If you will be feeling very proud that you made that decision yesterday, so then you can make this decision. But if you will not be feeling very proud or will be very upset, don't make that decision. It's very easy to understand for anyone, even not the experienced business person or business or governance professional. So thank you very much, Eric, Andres,
Thank
and all
you.
of you,
Thank
and all
you.
of you that you were taking time and watching our podcast. And see you next time. Bye bye.
Bye.
See you.